Hi there, Chris Dunn here from chrisdunn.com, entrepreneur and world adventure junkie. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how to pack smart so you can travel the world like a pro. I'm also going to talk about tips and tricks to help you maximize your adventures and experiences. So some key points of this video. The number one thing is pack smart and pack light. And one of the biggest mistakes that most people make, especially Americans, is overpacking. I've been able to get my wife down from a 75-pound massive suitcase to one carry-on, and it doesn't matter if we're just going for a couple of weeks to the Caribbean or if we're taking a 7-month trip around the world. We pack the same amount every time, and the way that you do that is you do it by only taking what's essential and try to carry on everything. Not only is it a lot cheaper to carry on your luggage, but it's also a lot safer and allows you to be a lot more flexible with your plans. If you're going from a bus to a ferry to a plane to a hotel or a condo, it just makes it a lot easier to get around, especially if you're going to go to Europe where maybe there's incline kind of cobblestone roads, or if you're going to be walking from somewhere with a beach stretch in between it. It's just a lot easier than looking like the typical American lugging just massive suitcases around. So first and foremost, buy high quality, comfortable gear. If you don't do that, if you cheap out and take stuff that's going to fall apart on you, that's no fun. So I'm going to show you some of my gear. I'm actually packing up to go do a diving and backpacking trip through Central America, and I'll show you what I'm taking with me and some essentials that you should take with you no matter where you're going in the world. All right, and the number one key thing is to think ahead. So here's some important gear that you need to take no matter where you're going. This isn't a complete list of everything that you need, but these are just some things that I find myself taking no matter what the climate, no matter what activity I'm doing, or what adventure we're getting into. So the most important piece of gear that you're going to take is your travel bag. And most people like to lug around, again, the big suitcases or even the roll-on carry-ons. What I recommend and what I found to be much more comfortable and much more flexible is a backpack, a travel pack. And there's a couple of different options that you have. Over here on the left-hand side, this is your typical travel backpack, which you'll notice doesn't have any external pockets, doesn't have a ton of straps, and is just really compact and easy to carry on. Especially if you're going to be jumping from an airplane to a bus or a ferry, and if you really want to be light and movable, this is probably your best bet. Now here in the middle, you can see this is kind of similar to your travel backpack, except this has wheels and a handle. And this is typically about twice the price, where your standard travel backpack is going to run you anywhere from $75 to $250. These are anywhere from $200 to $400. So you're paying for the luxury of having wheels and a handle, and I've found that it's just a lot easier to ditch that extra weight and just carry it on your back. And if you have a comfortable pack with a belt strap and the proper straps, you're going to be comfortable no matter how much weight you're carrying. Now you can see this is actually my trekking and hiking backpack, which I really like to use when I'm either hiking through the Himalayan mountains or doing the Appalachian Trail or anything like that where you're camping and basically living off the land. But one thing you'll notice about this is there's a lot of external straps, and there's a lot of zippers and pockets and access points to the backpack. And while it's really comfortable because you have really thick pads here on the waist strap and the shoulder straps, it's very, very big, bulky, and really hard to use as a carry-on, and not really safe if you're going through Central America or Europe or areas like that where there's pickpockets and people can unzip different pockets when your back's turned. So if you're going to be backpacking or if you're going to be traveling, even if you're just taking a week's vacation to the Caribbean or something, I really recommend getting a travel backpack like this, which is very simple, compact, and you can get them big enough to really, if you pack smart, carry everything that you need. Okay, so this is my main travel backpack, which is an Osprey Porter 65 liters, which is pretty big, and it can basically carry anything I need, no matter if I'm just hiking through the Caribbean for a couple of weeks or going to Asia for a couple of months. I can fit everything I need in this one carry-on backpack. Now, technically, it's not a carry-on size, but the nice thing is that it condenses down to be able to fit on most airplanes. Now the small little 80-seaters, it probably won't fit overhead, but they'll usually check that at the gate for you and you can get it right when you step off. But the nice thing that I like about this is not only does it have really nice straps and a waist belt, but the straps can actually zip up inside. And so if I'm going on a plane and say I just want to carry it on the side, I can do that pretty easily. And this is what it looks like with the straps zipped up. You can see it's really clean. It's a lot better than trying to take a hiking backpack around the world, because if you have an internal frame hiking backpack, it has a lot more straps, a lot more external pockets, where this thing is just very, very simple. You can pull these straps as tight as you want, and as long as you wrap these up, you'll notice there's very little, if anything, hanging off or outside of this. And so it's really easy to carry through airports, lug around if you're jumping from a bus to a train or a ferry. And overall, just, again, really good size. It'll carry anything that you need for any period of time. You don't have to have a massive suitcase like this, which is my wife's old 90-pound suitcase. You can really just carry anything you need in one simple suitcase about that size. Now here's some other gear that I find really useful no matter where I'm going or what we're going to be doing. So this isn't, again, a complete list of everything that you need, but these are just some essentials that I find really helpful no matter what plans we have. The first thing is a collapsible day pack. And in a second, I'll show you the exact gear that I'm getting ready to take and what I would recommend for you. Another thing is a money belt, which again sounds kind of silly if you've never used one, but is really helpful. Stuff sacks, eye covers and earplugs, and a travel towel. So let's go ahead and hop in my pack and I'll show you what I've got. So here's some other important gear that I think is really important to take no matter what adventures you're going to be doing or where you're headed. First thing I'll just point out is these waterproof stuff sacks. These are a lifesaver where you can basically just put anything you want into these little sacks, roll them up, clip them, and they're easy to carry around, super lightweight and waterproof. And here, this is all my GoPro stuff. I have many adapters, many different housing units, and it all fits in that really tiny bag. Here's the lightweight day pack that basically stuffs up into its own little container. So instead of taking a traditional like school backpack, which is really bulky and heavy, you get a really lightweight one that compacts into its own little compartment here and fits really nice into your main pack. Here's a couple other sacks. Also a travel towel, and you'll notice this tiny little packet actually unfolds into a really big towel that you can use to either dry off or clean gear or whatever you need. But you can see that's a pretty big towel and dries really easily. Also, highly recommend having eye covers. These are Tempur-Pedic, really comfortable, and earplugs. So if you're sleeping on a train or a long flight from, say, LA to Sydney, something like that, you definitely want this for screaming babies and bright lights and time changes. And then finally, I have a mesh sack that I use to keep all the dirty clothes. And it's nice just instead of throwing all the clean clothes and the dirty clothes together, having everything in, keeping all the dirty clothes in one area. And the other thing is a money belt. I felt pretty ridiculous the first time I got this, but it really is super convenient, really lightweight, and really safe to keep important things like your passport, extra cash, credit cards, and that kind of stuff with you at all times, really close to your person. That way, if your bag gets stolen or if somebody tries to rob you, you'll have this really close and you won't lose anything really important. So the biggest question is usually how to pack clothes. And if you just answer 2 questions, this will kind of guide you in the right direction and make sure that you're not overpacking or you're not leaving something behind that's really essential to your travel plans. The first question is, what's the weather going to be like? Am I going to warm Caribbean beach-like environment? Am I going to be in the snow or the cold? Or are you going to be moving in between multiple climates? The second question is, what adventures do we have planned? What activities do we have planned? Are you going to be hiking? Are you going to be downhill mountain biking, scuba diving, or just exploring? Are you going to be in an urban setting where you're going out maybe to bars and restaurants, meeting with people? Or are you going to be more in a camping or wilderness outside activities? The other thing is your computer gear. Are you taking a laptop, an iPad, a GoPro? Make sure you have your chargers and try to pack everything really tight and compact. Now, another point is to try to find multiple uses out of your clothing. For example, instead of taking massive, heavy hiking boots and then a really fancy pair of dress shoes if you're going to be going out to a bar or a restaurant, why not find something in between that can both serve as a hiking boot and something that's nice enough to go out in? Another thing that I like is at stores like REI, you can actually find pants that can either be full-legged pants or they can unzip into shorts. And while I don't wear those every day, they're really nice if you're on the go and you're moving in between different climates. You also want to try to stay away from taking doubles of things like jackets, swimsuits, and hats. Again, the idea is to keep it very simple, and if you think that you're not going to have something that you need, just know that pretty much everywhere in the world that you go, you're going to have stores available to purchase things if you get there and find out you need something else. And that's why I always recommend to leave about 20% of your pack empty space, because you always come back with more than you leave with. So let's talk about how do you pack it all? How do you put it together? And how do you pack light and tight so you can conserve space and energy? One thing I like to do is pack the heaviest gear at the bottom. If you put your camera gear, your heavy jeans, any kind of heavy jackets and clothing at the bottom of the pack, what that's going to do, if you have a waist strap, it's going to put all the weight on your waist and it's going to free up your shoulders. So really, you shouldn't have hardly any weight on your shoulders when it's all said and done. Most of the weight should be low and tight to the ground on your center of gravity. Also, I like to keep toiletries and underwear and things like that closest to access points. So if you just need to unzip it, reach in and grab something, you know where it is and you can get it without having to dig through a bunch of clothes. When it comes to your technical gear, you need to make sure that it's protected and secure. And what that means is you don't want to pack it in a way that if you slam your backpack on the ground, it's going to break your laptop or your camera. And you also need to make sure you don't have it hanging on any kind of external pockets where somebody can easily just unzip, reach in, and grab a $500 camera. And the final thing is to roll clothes. Not only does it save space, but it actually can help with wrinkles. So let's go ahead and jump into my pack and I'll show you how I finally tie it all together. So this is how I put everything together in my pack. You can see I have the heavy gear like the GoPro stuff near the bottom, but it's protected by having the jeans on the very bottom. That way if I slam it down on the ground, I'm not going to break my cameras. Another thing you'll notice is everything is really low and tight. I just have basically one layer of clothing. So you can see I have a lot of space up here for my big laptop, and then I want to keep, underwear and toiletries up near the top so I can get to them really quick. Now, because I run my businesses virtually, my laptop is probably the most important thing, and you'll notice this is a big 17.3 inch top of the line gaming computer, but it's still light enough to fit right into the backpack. And one thing that I recommend is getting one of these cases that are super lightweight. You don't need a totally separate bag to carry your laptop stuff. If you pack right, you can actually fit everything right inside of your one pack. But one thing is really important is to make sure it's protected. So if you get one of these cases for the laptop, it actually has a sleeve on the inside that will keep it protected from damage or water or anything like that. And so that's it. When everything's said and done, you should be able to fit everything into a relatively small pack like this that is 35 pounds or less and can carry all your work and travel gear so you can experience what the world has to offer and just do some really cool adventures. So I hope this was helpful. I will see you in the next video.